welcome back to Squawk Box. This is your China's business briefing. We're live here in Beijing as the National People's Congress is underway and wraps up on Wednesday. There have been a raft of data grabbing the headlines in 10 years, possibly on record, weaker than expected inflation numbers, retail sales, and new bank lending as well. Dr. Qian Liu, she's the deputy director at the Economist Intelligence Unit, joins us here live in Beijing. Qian, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Sure.
We've had so many numbers over the last couple of days. Some have missed on the downside. After all of these numbers, is your view about where China's economy is going? Is the slowdown a little bit deeper than you initially expected?
The simple line of that is that there is no hard landing for China. Many people are talking about, especially around the mid last year, but we've seen that's not the case whatsoever, especially if you look at the fourth quarter number. So what we're looking at China this year is about 8.2% growth. Now, we saw that the Wenjiabao premier called for a 7.5. The market obviously overreacted to that. That in no way means that there's going to be a hard landing, because historically there's really very little linkage between what the government targets versus the actual number. So,
of course, a historical record of overshooting these estimates.
Exactly.
But in terms of incorporating the slowdown we're seeing from the European debt crisis, do you think we'll see that effect linger for a couple more quarters?
Absolutely. I think for this year especially, there are two main challenges for Chinese economy. One is the weak external demand in US and especially in Europe, because we're still looking at about 30 or 40% of Eurozone collapse possibilities. And on top of that, there is the domestic economy of China. Now, many people still think of China as an export-led economy, but that's no longer the case. Really, domestic economy, especially in recent year, property market is what really matters most. And we've seen that the transitional volume and the price of the property market has come down towards the end of last year. So if the government does not pay enough attention to that, there's going to be a problem to the GDP growth rate.
Obviously, with the property market, there's been a lot of engineering from the part of the authorities. Do you see any easing up on that in terms of loosening or slight moderation in housing policy after this NPC meeting?
What would mostly happen is that there will be this, let's call it a small market adjustment rather than a kind of bubbles. You know, many people are talking about, is China really having a major housing bubble? That's not the case. Fundamentally, there's very strong underlying economic demand for it. Basically, people have the money and they want to spend. The idea is that with this fast urbanization and fast income growth rate, which is about 10% in the past 5 years and will continue to be so in the next 5 to 10 years' time. And if you think about it, there is also the sort of RMB appreciations. So really, investment into the Chinese property market can be one of the best investment globally.
In addition to the 7.5% target in this work report, there was the 4% inflation target as well. I mean, inflation's coming in at the low end of the 3% zone.
Absolutely.
What does this tell you?
The 4% target is quite interesting in the sense the market was expecting that throughout the whole year, CPI is only going to be about 3.5%. So the fact that the government is setting itself a much higher target means that it's really leaving itself some rooms for various policies, including reducing the reserve requirement ratios or the interest rate. The idea is that what matters most this year is a stability. This is the last time that current government want to leave some legacy behind. So they want to have a stable economy while putting an inflation that's within control.
Do you expect to move on the interest rate, or do you think it's going to be more in terms of a cut in the RRR?
What's mostly going to happen is the cut in the RRR, and that is not going to happen very soon, at least this quarter, because we know that